G'day invaders and welcome to Spacies, and a train would go past.
Since Spacies.
G'day invaders and welcome to Spacies, and this is Japan. We are live in Japan and this is Shibuya, and as soon as I got out at this station I recognised it from Persona 5. It's just weird being in a place that I don't think I've been to before, but I recognise it. Anyway, so we will be filming here in Japan for the next week or so, and basically I am just going to be doing video logs and posting video logs up on a regular basis. Right now it's raining though, not really ideal weather conditions for filming, but welcome to Japan. So we are at the 109 Shibuya. Well, this is the famous Shibuya strip. This is where you go to get all your fashion, and that's pretty much it. And it is absolutely packed, and everyone that I've seen walking past me here is dressed 1,000 times better than I am, except that guy. But yeah, this is pretty much a fashion capital. Now today we were supposed to be meeting up with someone, but that plan got abandoned, so we're going to be just heading back home. Today was just a filler day. I have not had any sleep since 9 AM yesterday, so that's over 24 hours. I am running on empty, but I'm not here to whinge. I will be flying out to Nagasaki, and we'll be also heading off to Hiroshima tomorrow as well, I believe. And I don't get what the deal is with Asian teen bands. Yeah, I forgot, what is it, AK-47 or whatever they're called. They got 47 girl members, but then you got now 17 dudes, guys, blokes. I don't get it. Like, is it the case that if you just shove more guys in the band, then maybe they won't notice the ugly guys? I don't get it. Anyway, as I was saying before, we are just killing time here in Shibuya, and there's nothing really here of interest to me. More it's a case of people watching and just looking at the weird sights that you see around here. That for me is the main attraction here. As far as buying video games, etc., well, I haven't really seen any of that so far, so it's mostly fashion in this oh, Hooters. I just noticed Hooters. Very Americanized, actually. I've noticed a lot of this is American companies, but why wouldn't they be here? This is absolutely premium real estate in this part of the world. Anyway, I'm rambling. I might just mosey on off. Ciao. I've got no idea. It's a game, I guess. It's pretty cool advertising, but all this for a mobile game? These are simply known as ad trucks, and they're everywhere now in Shibuya, and they seem to be getting more predominant as, I don't know, as time goes on. And this one here was full of a boy band. Yeah, because that's a thing. I don't know if this would go down too well in Australia. And this was to be our last little moment in Tokyo, and then we were off to Nagasaki. Something that you don't see in any other country, that these people just left their bags to show that that's their desk and then walked off and left, and there's no one there to look after them. So that is nothing that you'll see in any other country except Japan, I think. And while waiting for our flight to Nagasaki, I was checking out all the gachas. Now these are capsule toy machines that you will see everywhere. Anyone that's played Shenmue will be very, very familiar with these things. And anyone that's following me on Twitter will be seeing the ones that I've been posting, and some of them are just ludicrous. Like, I don't know what that thing is there. and you can just find all sorts of toys. Some of them are really cool, but some of them are just like, why? Why is this even a thing? But something very unique to Japan. They really have embraced the capsule toy machine culture. And we finally made it to Nagasaki, and thanks to a free phone from the hotel, we're able to navigate our way pretty easily, and that's something that I haven't seen in any other country, a free mobile phone to help assist you in navigating around the city. And our first destination in Nagasaki was to head onto a ferry to go visit Hashima Island, better known as Battleship Island. It was quite a trip. At one stage in history, this was known as the most populated place on Earth. It was owned by Mitsubishi until 2002. And here you could find a school, kindergarten, hospital, town hall, and a community centre. It was quite extraordinary, but not a very nice place to be in, considering the very poor conditions that these people were facing at the time. And definitely a must visit. So for a new segment I'd like to call Things I Just Learnt Today, the lighthouse that you see up the top there is the only working piece of machinery on this island now. The only thing that's powered, it's operated by solar power. The building next to it is a water tower, and during the 50s it became inadequate for the supply because the population here was just so dense. This was the most densely populated place on the planet at that stage. So they built an 8-kilometer long water pipe from the mainland to here to bring fresh water to the island. And this here is the last remnants of the main office, and there was bathtubs here for the workers, and over here is the steps leading to one of the shafts, and the shafts go 600 meters down into the ground, and then they would be transferred to a train or a rail that would take them 2 kilometers outwards, which would decline to about 1 kilometer on the ground. The workers would work in 3 shifts around the clock in temperatures of about 30 degrees with about 95% humidity, so really poor working conditions. There used to be the swimming pool, and children used to go playing in it, and when it was even emptied out, they'd even play baseball, like a little children's baseball there. And he was saying that kids, no matter how desperate things seemed, they could find somewhere to play anywhere on this island. It's quite hard to believe that children grew up on this place. Imagine growing up here. I think it's like, was it 500 meters long and 120 or 150 meters wide? It's quite crazy. And children grew up here. And that building there was built in 1916. It was the first high-rise built in Japan. And similar buildings would only pop up in Japan 10 years later. It's quite incredible. So this really did leave an impact on me, this visit. It is a place that I've always wanted to visit, and it is quite a daunting place to see for yourself. This side of the island that I'm showing you now is not actually visible on the area that you're allowed to touch down and walk along. Now, the coal mining operation shut down in 1974, And it's only been in the last 4 or 5 years that visitors have been allowed to actually step foot on the island. You can actually go onto Google Maps and do a street view from within the island. So probably a good idea to check this out and consider visiting it, because it's just such an extraordinary place on Earth. Oh, I love seeing that. So we're going on a cruise to our little island. I really don't know too much about this place. Like I said before, I am just a passenger. But when we get back, I do have a game shop in mind. A second-hand book, CD, video game, DVD, all that sort of nonsense. Recycle, they call it. They don't call it second-hand, they call it recycle. We'll see how that little journey goes. Okay, so we have arrived at Goto. I don't know, Goto Island, or Goto City. And I gotta say, this is probably the most remote part of Japan I have been to. It is an hour-and-a-half ferry trip out here. I have no idea of what this place has to offer. I tried doing some Googling and came up with very little. So, yeah, let's see what Goto has got to offer. Ciao. Okay, so this is Komyo Sojo, and I've butchered that pronunciation big time, but basically this is an island about a 1.5 hour ferry trip away from Nagasaki, and there's no there's buses and taxis available, and you have to hire a car. And we've just been sort of dumped off here by a taxi, told he'll be back in an hour. I don't see a McDonald's. I don't see any Moe's Burger. Good thing I had breakfast before coming here. So the time is already 3:30 and we haven't really done much. We climbed the mountain and that's about it. So in short, I have to say, don't go to Goto Island. Been a bit of a letdown, a bit of a disappointment. Hello. You get this a lot when you're traveling. Hello. Hello. Hey. Hello. You get a lot of kids just randomly saying hello. Hi. Hello. You get that a lot when you go overseas, especially in Asian countries. Hello. Day 5 and I'm finally getting to venture into my first game store. Tsutaya. Let's see how this works out. Here we go. Okay, so we just came out of that game store, and I'm not going to tell you right now what I picked up from there. I will save that for a future video. But I just wanted to show you guys these shopping strips that they have in Japan in pretty much most major cities. They're like arcades. There's a name for it. I'll pop it up on the screen because I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Osaka, I remember Osaka has loads of these shopping strips, but we finally found one here in Nagasaki. Nagasaki seems to be a much more relaxed, I say relaxed loosely, compared to other Japanese cities anyway, but a much more relaxed city than, like I said, compared to Osaka, Tokyo, even Sapporo. But I just thought this was pretty cool. But this is the only one that I've seen in Nagasaki so far. There could be more, but this is the only one that I have spotted. Anyway, just thought I'd show you this. Pretty cool.
So we finally had to leave Nagasaki and we took off via Shinkansen to go to Hiroshima. And I gotta tell you, anyone that's visiting Japan for the first time needs to experience the joys of traveling via Shinkansen. So while you're looking at these glorious paddy fields traveling at 300 k's per hour, you can get to stuff your face with a bento box. It is absolutely awesome, and it is the envy of the world. Every time I go there, I try to squeeze in one of these trips. It is simply awesome.
Okay, so this is day 7 of our trip to Japan, and we are near the floating temple of Itsukushima. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is an island nearby Hiroshima, and it is bucketing down rain. And something that happened just before, I was wrestling with a deer. A deer was trying to steal the map off my wife because they thought that the map was food. And here I was wrestling with it to try and stop it from eating paper. There's one of them over there now. They've learned to become quite aggressive, actually, the deers. So make sure you got a traveler's tip. If you come here, make sure you're not carrying any food. They will hunt it down. They'll grab it out of your bag. They don't care. Anyway, let me get my mug out of the way. And so that is the floating temple of... I've forgotten the island name. Fujitsushima? Fujitsu? I don't know. I'm really bad with these names. So we come back a few hours later. Actually, it wasn't even it was about an hour later, and it is now low tide. And this is when you're not going to get a good photo because of all the tourists. So my tip to anyone visiting is to come here during high tide. So we are on our way to a second-hand or recycled game store. We have just got off the train at Yaga, which is like one stop over from Hiroshima. And it was weird. It was a weird train because they actually had bladed fans running inside, like really old retro. I'll throw a video up on the corner to show you what I was talking about. This is weird. Oh, that is big. That is big. I wasn't expecting it to be that, like a used clothes entertainment recycle store. Oh, this could be cool. I've never heard of this one before. Let's find out.
We finally got to visit Peace Park in Hiroshima, and it was a very emotional place to visit. But while we were there was a live performance outside of the dome. It's quite strange because it just is a sign that I guess life has moved on. Although they have not forgotten, it's just a sign that they should not let the past tie them down.
I can't believe what I'm seeing here. These people are having their cars blessed at this castle. I've seen everything now. I've had my car serviced from time to time, but not like this. I know. I didn't read that part in the handbook.
So we got to visit the Hiroshima Pokemon Center. This is my second Pokemon Center that I have got to visit, and there is some unique stuff that you can buy here that is not available anywhere else, and that is you can buy Hiroshima Carp merchandise for their baseball team, which is a tie-in with the Pokemon, and it's actually pretty cool. Outside of the Pokemon Center, you can actually see here, I think that's every Pokemon that there is. I'm not a big Pokemon head, but check out this display out the front. That is simply awesome with the Hiroshima Carp baseball team. And this is a quick run through that I was able to do. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to record inside, so I just quickly did a run through, and I hope you guys appreciated what I did here, because I wasn't sure if I was going to get a tap on the shoulder at any second and say, please stop recording. But as you can see, there's only a handful of Westerners here. I did see a few, but it was mostly locals. And it's just really quite an extensive range. It's a smaller store than the Osaka store, but it's still an impressive range. They just squeeze so much stuff into this one store. And I had a ball, even though, again, I'm not the biggest Pokemon head. But there's my wife and sister. You can see though that they had a massive range, and it was really cool to just check all that stuff out.
Okay, so this is day 8, I think, day 8, and yeah, we finally got our first book off, and this is a super bizarre book off. Not sure what that means, but I'm already seeing more merchandise in there than I'm used to seeing in a book off, so let's go in and see if we can grab ourselves a decent bargain or maybe a hidden gem. Here we go.
So that's been my quick look at my trip to Japan. That was my 10th trip to Japan, and it was a family affair, so I didn't really get much of a chance to, you know, check out the game stores, etc, etc, but I got 3 game stores in amongst the trip. And so hopefully on the next trip I can concentrate a little more on showing you guys the retro gaming side of Japan, but I don't know, I hope I got to at least show you a little inside and inspire you guys to want to go to Japan yourself. It is so worth the effort. It is expensive, but then again, living in Sydney is not much different to living in Japan as far as pricing goes, in my experience anyway. So please leave a comment, tell us about your experience with Japan if you've been yourself, and also don't forget to subscribe. I've got the pickups video from this trip coming up very soon, and I will also have tons of other videos coming up very shortly on the channel. So, my name's been Brian, and I've been gaming since Spacies. Thanks guys!
Since Spacies.